looks like it is officially noon, so I'll go ahead and ring the bell. Good afternoon and welcome everybody to the 121-21 Rotary meeting of Newport Rotary Club. I guess today's an anagram if you write it out that way. And this is Zoom meeting number 37. So I think we've got it figured out pretty well by now, and hopefully not 37 more to go. Well, except for the option, I guess, of doing hybrid. Let's see, Sylvia, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the country for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All
right, thank you, Sylvia. Let's see, I have a few announcements before we get into things and a few people to call on for announcements. We've got the four-way test registration materials out to the schools, so we'll start accepting signups for the four-way test contest, and we've got that distributed out to the district too, so hopefully we'll have a good contest this year. The local contest will be held here on Zoom for our club on March 11th. And then we're hoping, fingers crossed, that the finals will happen at the district conference, which is May 28th. And they're still hoping to have that in Eugene. So time will tell. Hopefully things will improve by May and we'll be back to in person. That's the current plan anyway. And I got some communication from incoming District Governor Jerry Kosanovich. I think most of, or some of you met him. He was in attendance at our last in-person club meeting, which was our four-way test contest last March. And so peace literacy was introduced to our district at Bill Grill's district conference in 2018, and it was really well received. Rotary clubs in Corvallis later submitted grant applications to fund Paul Chappell, CEO of Peace Literacy, along with Sherry Clow, OSU professor, to establish a peace literacy curriculum with teachers in the Corvallis School District. It has established an excellent model for others. So peace literacy is basically informed by three questions. Number one, what if people were as well trained in waging peace as soldiers are at waging war? The second is, what if people were trained to address the root causes of problems rather than the symptoms? And number three is, what if we taught peace as a skill set, as a life-saving literacy with as much rigor as we teach literacy in reading and writing? So District Governor Jerry Kay is planning on promoting peace literacy during his term in 2020 and 2021. And he'll continue to work with Oregon State University to promote that curriculum to other schools in our district. So more on that to follow, but that's pretty exciting news, I think. And then for those of you who've been following our Facebook page, John posted a photo of a couple of our Rotarians volunteering at the COVID vaccination clinic. And here's a picture of that, yeah. Megan Shane and Susan Van Loo, and matter of fact, I know Megan is back volunteering at the clinic today, so kudos to them for doing that. Let's see, I know we've got some announcements from Sylvia on community service, so I'll go ahead and turn it over to you for that, Sylvia.
Yes, good morning, Rotarians. I don't know that we've done any follow-up for the sweat and coat drive that we did last December for kids, but that went really, really well. John's got a picture of what all we raised. There were a couple of people who really went all out. One person I know bought 5 coats for older high school kids, and you'll see in the foreground there's little sweatshirts with earbuds, which I learned were the in thing from the help director, because as the kids are homeschooling, they're trying to tune out screaming brothers and sisters. And I think somebody bought 7 or 9 of those. So if you need a receipt, you can contact Mark Miranda for those. So great job. They were really thrilled with the turnout. And thanks to both Freddie and Julie Hanrahan for collecting those at their offices, and their office staff too for helping to organize that. So that went fantastic. A lot of kids are being extra snugly warm. For January and February, the Community Services Committee met. We do have some spring group planning projects down the road in March and April, and we'll do the dictionary project. But for this month and next, we've got 2 projects. One is not going to cost you a lot. The other will cost you absolutely nothing but your precious time. The first is a school supply drive for kids. We all know they're going back, hopefully in the classroom in February, and there's always a big push in September for school supplies. But of course, everything's broken, lost, or chewed on by the dog by now. So if you could pick up some crayons and note paper, pencils, pens for the older kids, that would be awesome. Also, D-Team said schools also need Band-Aids, little boxes, and Kleenexes, because the kids have to supply their own little boxes of those. So I'll be asking for a few businesses who can provide a drop-off location for that. And also for our second project, and that will be a note card writing project for seniors. Some words of encouragement that you could jot down. They'll be distributed by the Newport Meals on Wheels. I talked with Charlotte Donald, and she said they try and do a little extra something special for Valentine's Day, but we're looking at something that's encouraging just for the year. You know, what would you have said to all those seniors you see on TV who are by themselves? What would you say to your parents that you haven't been able to visit? You know, if you can keep it kind of whole feeling local with a coast reference, that's awesome. I do ask that you don't put a date on them, because if we have more than the 90 or so that Charlotte said she can use for Newport, we can send some to Walport or Toledo for their Meals on Wheels. If you break that down, we're asking people to do 4 or 5 a piece, because you know some people won't be able to, so there's no problem having extras. There's always people we can give them to. Kind of a take on the encouragement for soldiers. So make them cheery, make them bright. And you can use typical encouragement cards or thinking of you from the dollar store, or just go to that stockpile of blank cards you've got in a drawer somewhere that you're trying to figure out what to do with those things, and write a rainbow and, you know, a whole new day, whatever. So do I have a couple of businesses that would be willing to put up a tote as drop-off sites, school supplies, and maybe a shoebox in there for cards? Freddie's he's a drop-off site at Martech. Thank you. That's just behind. Anyone else? Okay, Richard and Diamonds by the Sea. Anybody in Toledo by any chance?
Yeah, we're happy to do it. Olala Center will.
Okay, we've got Olala in Toledo. So that's 4 sites: Freddie's, Diamond by the Sea, Richard's office, and Olala. So the deadline on the cards will be the 10th of February, because that's a Wednesday, they'll go out on Friday. And for school supplies, let's look at that as also a deadline for the first batch. And we'll see if people can bring some later. I'm sure there'll be a need. So thank you, Rotarians. We are doing great things. Any questions?
I have a couple questions. I'm sorry, when did you say the deadline was? Which Friday?
February 10th. That's actually a Wednesday, because they'll be going out to the seniors with their Friday meals on the 12th.
Oh, you said Friday meals and I heard deadline was Friday. Okay, I'm glad I asked. And
Wednesday,
then,
10th.
do you know if the school district is going to put out a school supply list at Freddy's and Walmart like they usually do in September? Any word on that?
I have not heard. I do know that Fred Meyer's put their school supplies in the seasonal drive by the New Year's stuff and Valentine's. It just occurred to me, I've always thought what do kids do in January anyway, even when it isn't an odd year, and so it just occurred to me, let's get some. And then the going back to school in February came out, and nobody wants to go with a broken box of crayons that's missing yellow and pens that don't work anymore and no notebook paper. So let's
Okay.
do what we can to help kids out.
Freddie, may I say that you actually work at Advantage Realty across from the Bottle Drop and not the other named place, just to clarify that, because they might not know what's going on when people are dropping.
Yeah, that's true. I'm at Advantage, but Doretta would probably take them over at Martech too. So that works. Either
Okay.
one, drop them off anywhere. Well, thanks for that. So, Sylvia, sounds like we've got some good stuff in the works and really worthy causes to support for sure. Let's see, I don't think Laura Kimberly is on. She's been working on a Rotary happy hour, which will happen, let's see, February 18th at, I think the evening of February 18th in lieu of our noon meeting, but more on that soon. I'll let her talk about that next week. I noticed that we have a couple guests and I forgot to introduce them or welcome them, so sorry about that, but I see we have Chuck's daughter with us today. Hi, Chuck's daughter. And we have Marcus Lehrer. I think he's a student of the month. So welcome, and glad you could join us today. Do we have any other guests? We also received an application for a new member, Connie Battles. I don't think she's on today. Oh,
That's Chuck's daughter.
oh, that's Chuck's daughter. Oh, Connie, hi, welcome. So I just saw the Chuck's daughter and didn't put two and two together, so sorry about that. Welcome, Connie. Good to have you. Let's see, so I think that's it for announcements. Anyone else have an announcement they'd like to bring up before we move on? I don't see anybody. So I have a few things from today in history. Oh, sorry, we have Melanie Hanna here, it looks like, too, the other student of the month. So welcome, Marcus and Melanie. So a few things from today in history. 1977, US President Jimmy Carter pardons almost all Vietnam War draft evaders. 1 year later, in 1978, the Bee Gees album Saturday Night Fever hit #1 on the charts, and it stayed there for 24 weeks. And 2010, LA Lakers forward Kobe Bryant becomes the youngest NBA player to reach 25,000 career points at just 31 years and 151 days old. That beat Wilt Chamberlain's record by 35 days. Let's see, I don't see Bob on here today. Kathy was worried that she was going to get a fine. I think you're off the hook, Kathy. Maybe next time. So I guess we'll take Happy Bucks if anybody has a few of those to give. I'd like to, I also noticed on Facebook some really exciting news for Sonia Graham completed her chemo treatment. So I'd like to give $25 to her, Paul Harris, and Happy Bucks.
Thank you.
That's great news. Congrats on that, Sonia, and I hope things continue to go really well for you.
Thank you. Yes, it was actually my radiation just finished on Monday, and that's all of my chemo, all of my cancer treatments totally. So I am also $100 happy for that.
Nice. Congrats. Anybody else have any Happy Bucks?
I'll throw out.
Hey, Freddie, I had my hand up, D-Mark.
Oh, okay. ahead,
So I'll be
D-Mark.
$20 happy. First of all, I want to thank Dustin for sending me the link to the county website for the COVID information. So I went on there and registered, and I got a call yesterday evening. My wife and I went down there and we got our first COVID shot at the clinic. So was real happy about that. I guess you have to be fairly old to get those right now. So, but if you're old and you haven't registered yet, please register.
Well,
In
congrats.
fairness, Dimar, I screamed at you and said, run to your computer, register now.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't at my computer at the time. I was out in the field doing some work on a project, and Dustin called me and said, "Get to that computer." And so when I got home, I registered right away, and that was very successful. Thank you, Dustin.
I'd like to just add on to that, there are, like yesterday, I heard there were 40 no-shows, and so they are calling people on the wait list. So even
Right.
if you get on the wait list, there is a chance that you might be able to get a shot because they are full, right? for
Yeah,
this-
I was on the wait list, so they
Great.
called me. So
Yeah, great.
Well, that's great. Kathy?
This is something, is Amy on today?
I haven't seen her.
I talked with Amy today. Amy and I got an email from District Youth Exchange Committee, and I just wanted to bring this up for the good of the order. District said that they would like to go ahead and have their meeting in Newport this year in March. And we don't have any inbounds, but they had 20 students and about between 8 and 10 committee members. And Amy and I talked about it, and I'm uncomfortable with that. So I kind of wanted to bring it up to the powers that be, but that would mean that we would have to host a meeting here in town with approximately 30 people, 20 of which would need housing, using our church again, which I don't think anybody is approved for a meeting that size. So I have not returned an email to district regarding this, but we're both pretty uncomfortable with hosting that size of a meeting, asking people to host kids in their household and trying to have a meeting with 30 odd people in a building that I don't think we're approved to do right now. Anybody have any thoughts on this besides me?
Yeah, that seems really surprising because I heard that they decided to make RILA virtual this year, and that's in June or June, I think. So that's really surprising.
I agree with you.
Kathy, I would think it's very imprudent for us to even consider it. I would let them know that we're just not, our county isn't ready for that, nor I would believe any of our, look at how vulnerable we'd be. I just don't think it's a prudent idea at all.
Thank you.
Kathy, I wonder if there's some other level of support that we could provide to them to make the meeting happen virtually. Is there an alternative that we could come back with? I'd be happy to help in an effort like that.
Okay. They did talk about a Zoom meeting, but wanted us to go ahead and plan this meeting, basically. And like I said, we haven't replied yet, but I wouldn't host a student. I wouldn't host a student in my house right now. I wouldn't want to ask any of you to do that. So
I think that there could be a really cool way that we could offer some like material support for a virtual meeting, and maybe people would get little packages in the mail, of things that could be useful during the meeting. Like there's ways to make the virtual experience still feel special. And I think that, if we've been tasked with hosting in the past, maybe we could offer that we would go above and beyond to make a virtual meeting feel very special and very significant for the student participants. Because I hear, I hear that argument that we want to make it special and impactful for them, but I would not want to impact them with COVID-19. So maybe there's something else that we could offer.
we don't want to impact them with a hospital visit.
Yeah.
What we want really isn't relevant if the state of Oregon isn't open to group meetings.
That's
more.
I'm a little confused by the whole thing as well, but I will diplomatically handle this, and I will thank you. We'll talk about seeing if we can help out with making it a virtual meeting.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it'd be as fun anyway without the inbounds. You know, that was kind of what made it neat to show them all our community. The rest have probably been here 100 times. So interesting, yeah.
Tell them we'll take next year.
Okay,
Thanks, Kathy.
I appreciate that.
Richard, Richard, I saw you had your hand up too.
Yeah, I just wanted to second, and I think Ursula probably would know, but also the teachers are included in that group that Dietmar was describing, right? Is that teachers and educators? Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
teachers in
Yeah.
the group that May.
So I know that was a last minute push, and I think some of the local reps, I think Mr. Ryan is one of the educators at the high school. I think he's the rep that helped push that, but I've also got relatives that are educators, and they felt like, you know, you're going to open schools, and they needed to have that in place. So I'm glad that the governor, I think, is who finally allowed that. So I'd like to put $20 to general fund, just thankful, happy bucks for getting educators and teachers included in that first group there.
All right, thanks, Richard. Anybody else? Dee.
Hi, everyone. I'm also happy we were able to have all of our staff who wish to be vaccinated because of our day treatment and on-site school. So very happy about that. And Jim doesn't know this yet. He's our finance director and has been for several months now. But we just received some wonderful new appreciation and funding from our partners with the Oregon Health Authority to help us do even more of our community outreach work in a way that really meets the needs of our community and works for Olala Center. So I'm very happy about that. We'll be able to provide more supports for people who need them. And I'm going to be happy, $50 happy towards Jim Graham's Paul Harris for that, and as an appreciation to all the hard work he's done lately.
All right, thank you, Dee. Anybody else have anything before we move on? Any more happy bucks? All right. So today we have a good program for you all. Today our presenter is a fellow Rotarian and also an ex-Marine, Semper Fi. Oregon State University graduate, I understand. So I'd like to welcome and turn it over to Levi Kittel.
All right. Well, thanks. Bear with me. I've never had to lead a Zoom meeting before, so I'm not much for public speaking or technology. So this is going to be fun for all of us. Let's see here. Give me a minute while I organize. You know, the more screens I got, the more confusing everything seems to get. All right. You can all see my screen?
Yep.
All right. So I was told I could talk about whatever I wanted. So here we go. I'm going to bounce all over the place, I think. As all of you know, I am a janitor. At least I love to introduce myself as a janitor. Because if you tell somebody you're a doctor, they want you to take a look at something. Or if you're a lawyer, they want legal advice. But if you tell them you're a janitor, you get a nice awkward pause. And that's one way to go. And is that all you could do with a degree from U of O? But no, I'm a beaver, and I think I have an important job. People rarely notice it. It's became a little more noticeable with COVID, because what we do is, you know, we try to prevent people from going to the hospital by providing healthy work environments. And there's actually a lot of trainings we go to and research we go to and certifications. There's a lot more into it than people realize. So I thought I'd share just a few things that people I think find interesting about ACS. We do just about everything associated with cleaning. So all the time I get people that say, I didn't know you do that. But yeah, we do residential and commercial here in Lincoln County. But our main focus is actually medical financial institutions throughout Oregon, Southwest Washington. And soon we might be in Idaho as well. And, we do a whole lot of things for a whole lot of people. So I always say, if you're not sure who to call, you can call us. We probably do it, but if not, we can help you line up and know the right things to ask. What I like about ACS is the blessings it's given me and my family. We do a lot of little projects for the community, highway cleanups, which always seems to be raining every time I'm out there. We do a lot of community give backs. I think we donate about 20,000 a year to Newport and doing services and things like that for the community. But the one I like to do the most is I like to do gifts that people don't really recognize who it's from, like when you're in line at Starbucks and just buy something for someone behind you, and or the other one that's I really enjoy doing is if I'm in line somewhere and overhear somebody talking about going through a rough time. Like I was in line the other day and heard a woman talking about she had terminal cancer, and there's nothing I can do in the medical field or anything like that, but in those times, I just had these gift cards to give out for like free carpet cleanings or window cleanings. Just, I can do my little part to brighten their day. And so that's what my job and stuff's allowed me to do, which I really appreciate. But the history of ACS, second generation, which I really am excited about because most second generation businesses fail statistically. I came on in 2005 and we have grown every year. We've almost 5 times in size since I started. And it all started with my dad. When he started it in 75, people said, "Why are you being a janitor? You're not a felon." Because back then, all you could do if you were, a felon or something like that was janitorial usually back then. And but nowadays it's high security. At a minimum, we have to have people go through Oregon State Police background screenings, but then we have screenings that take 6 months to get clearance for because, we're in financial institutions and medical places. So we have access to lots of data. We clean evidence rooms and places like that. So it's a lot more security than people realize. Let's see. I don't want to talk too much about ACS or COVID or any of that. I'm sure everybody's heard plenty of stuff about all that. So I thought I'd talk more about something personal to me that I enjoy, family history. So as you can see, I was a sergeant in the Marines, and I always thought it was weird when I heard 1% serve in the military. I thought I heard that wrong the first time I heard it because in my family, almost everybody serves. Air Force, every branch there is, we've served in. And so my dad was Air Force. My grandfather, he was Army Air Corps. And he was actually the man I want to grow up to be. I'm pretty sure most of you or none of you have ever met him. He's to me reminds me of like the John Baker type. He just always has a real positive outlook. Never says anything bad about people, and his jokes are always the positive, uplifting jokes, not the negative, sarcastic type. And he always seemed like a guy who wasn't excited about anything. And I found out later it's just because he's already done everything in life, so nothing surprised him anymore. One of the funny stories I liked about him when he was younger, around my age, 18, 19, right? I'm still about that, right? He got kicked out or had to walk his date to the prom because his car was too loud, shot flames out the sides. So the cops pulled him over and made him walk to town. And he would slide the car sideways down the roads and do all these just crazy stuff that young kids do. And then he's telling us, the best, most sensible car out there is a minivan, which no kid in their 20-year-old is like, yeah, Grandpa, I want a minivan.
Sit down.
That's just exactly what I want. And so there's a neat book about my grandfather and the unit he flew with. It's called Lightning Strike. And it's full of a bunch of interesting stories as they go through the war. Starts a little bit pre-war and then into their training and stuff like that. And it's mostly just about the group that he flew with. And there's There's old grandpa right there, already getting the nice Kittel hairline in his 20s. And so again, like I said, it's full of these just really neat stories. Any of you who love that history stuff. And there's a lot in there about him. So apparently, I've got to love that stuff, being family. He has the one story, they're on this island called Christmas Island. And it's where they're training new pilots to head to the front lines. And on the island, he has some fun stories. One, the entire island is nothing but tents and a runway strip. And so my grandfather is taking apart every pallet that comes in with supplies, straightening out the nails, and reassembles all the pallets to build the only structure on the island. And so he builds himself a cabin that he ends up getting kicked out of every time there's a visiting general, since it's the only structure on the island. Stories about when he comes flying back from one of the neighboring islands with chickens in the lap of his fighter so he can have fresh eggs every morning. Another trip, he decides he needs a dog, so he flies back with a puppy on his lap. And just amazing, funny stuff that he got away with back in that time. I think that the most amazing thing that he got away with is they're getting ready to fly to the front lines, Guadalcanal, where the heavy fighting is going on. And everybody's on the transport plane except Kittel's missing. And you can go to the brig for missing a military movement. And right near the end, he comes rolling up on a Harley, and all of his buddies are going, "Kittel, where have you been?" He says, "Shut up and help me get this thing on the plane." He had acquired a Harley from the military that he was going to fly to the front lines of Guadalcanal. And so they get up to Guadalcanal, and there's intense fighting going on and lots of crazy stuff these guys have to go through because they don't have the proper equipment. They're waking up in the morning and half their squadron's been blown up by shells, and they're piecing stuff back together to keep the fight going. They're taking depth charges used to blow up submarines, and they're strapping them to their planes as an improvised bomb. But then one of the stories is they're getting bombed every night. These two Japanese bombers are coming over every night and not allowing anybody on the base to get any sleep.
Did you get a labradoodle?
So my grandfather,
Sit down, buddy. Sit.
Keeps,
Can you sit?
sit, asking command to let
Are you a
him
good boy?
engage in the night. And
The vets aren't really.
at this
positive.
time, nobody had ever done a night engagement. And so they were reluctant to allow him to do this. They didn't want to lose a pilot or a plane that they were short on. And so they kept turning him down, and they just kept getting bombed every night. And he kept asking command, "Let me go up, let me go up." And finally they decide to let him go up. And as this painting they had done of it shows, he ends up shooting down two bombers in one night, and no more bombings for the rest of their time there in the evenings or at nights. And they nicknamed him the guardian angel of Guadalcanal for that engagement. And here's a little photo they had of him in the paper of him getting, I believe it was his Bronze Star he got for that engagement that night. And what else we got here? So the main mission or main storyline of the book is about that group and their effort to avenge Pearl Harbor. So Pearl Harbor was planned by this gentleman here, Admiral Yamamoto. He actually went to college here in the States, liked it here. When they went to war, he went back, to serve the empire and honor and all that. But he actually warned Japan and said, "Do not attack the United States." One of his famous quotes is, "You're going to you're going to wake the sleeping giant." But they told him to go ahead. So he planned Pearl Harbor and many other great defeats for the Japanese against the US. So he was really good tactician. But in the book, the Americans end up breaking the Japanese code, and they overhear that he's going to be flying to one of the forward bases near Guadalcanal, and they decide to try to plan an intercept mission. And they devise a another crazy plan. They're going to take a Navy compass and attach it to the inside of their fighter. They're going to use the RPMs of the engine and a stopwatch. They're going to fly at sea level out of sight of land, so no enemy spotters on the islands can tip them off that they're coming, and fly this long dogleg mission in hopes that Yamamoto is going to be passing the point they think he'll be at a given time. And it's 1,000,000 to 1 odds of anything happening. But as luck would have it, they get there just as Yamamoto's escorts coming through. And half of the squadron engages and shoots down both escort bombers, and provides, a good morale boost to the Americans, but it also a crushing defeat for the Japanese, because this is a good trusted leader that they had planning lots of their attacks. So, so that was the end of Admiral Yamamoto. The book continues on from there, telling some amazing stories about what happens afterwards and to the different individuals. Other funny stories about one of his buddies getting too focused on strafing an enemy ship that he actually hits the ship with his wing and rips 3 feet of the wing off. Still flies it back to base and tells the ground crew, hey, I think it flies better without it. Don't worry about fixing it. My grandfather start of flying came when he was young. He had a friend that was going to make a short little, like 45-minute, 1 hour flight. I believe it was like a little crop duster kind of like plane. And they have to unintentionally land 14 times in farmers' fields and back roads to fix something that's broken on the plane. Something that I would think I would never want to get in a plane again. And to him, he's like, well, no, I was hooked. I knew I had to be a pilot after that, And so that was just a start of what became his career. And neat history about all the stuff they went through. And I can't believe there's not a movie on it. If anybody's seen Band of Brothers or something like that, to me, the book just echoes a great movie like that. And great book. When you like that history, check that out. It's also at the McMinnville Air Museum. They got pictures of him and his squadron up there and the history and all that of that. And so it's another place you can go see some neat stuff. But I guess that is about it. I hope I didn't bore you all too much and that you found something neat there. And if you like history, there's a good book to go read. And thanks for your time.
All right. Well, thanks, Levi. That was awesome. I sure love these member spotlights. I think they're some of the best programs we have, and it's great to learn about our members. Levi, what was the name of that book again?
Lightning Strike.
Lightning Strike. I have to check that one out. Anybody have any questions or comments for Levi before we move on? Richard?
Yeah, I do. I saw the name. The author, was it Don Davis? Is that our Don Davis from town?
I do not believe so.
Okay.
I have a comment. Levi's probably shaking in his boots now. No. So he mentioned financial institutions that he does work for, and Columbia Bank is one of them, and he goes as far as Washington and Idaho on all of our banks and does a great job. So we appreciate having that relationship. And it's kind of funny when you're talking to other branches in other states and they're like, hey, do you know this Levi guy? He does our. So explain how you do that, how you keep that running and other, because I don't think people realize your company is as big as it is.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's, we're learning new ways to do it now with COVID and how to use more and more technology to do that. A lot of it is technology we use. We have systems that tracks everywhere where people are at, what they're doing. But our growth has really came from, I always say, it's kind of like just putting out fires, and that's actually our start with Columbia. And a lot of this is, they just call us anytime they have a location they're having a problem with and say, hey, can you go in and figure out what it is and get it back on track? And our growth has actually mostly been word of mouth over the 45 years too. So And I just kind of like that slow, steady, just, I don't try to go out and land a big old US package, just trickle in what's broke and I'll work on fixing it.
But you actually go into those other communities and hire people there to work on, to do those contracts.
Yes. Yeah. We have all the people in those communities, and another thing that we do that people don't see a lot is we actually show up and come in and say hi. And now we do it at nights to stay away, in distance during COVID, but before COVID, we'd come by once a month and say hi to the branches and check what's going on. And so that's how we stay connected with them.
All right, anybody else?
Hey, Julie, what bank was that?
Bob's not on, is he? So, Columbia Bank, yeah, they go all over in Idaho, Washington, Oregon. He's, they do a great job for us, so I've appreciated it. And I think the start was here in Newport, wasn't it?
Newport, Depot Bay, one of these right here. They're all came out right around the same month, so they're all pretty close together.
Yeah. So Demar's trying to make me pay some money, aren't you?
I'll pay it on your behalf.
I knew you'd say that. Okay, no.
John will have to send Bob the recording, I guess.
Well, then I'll go ahead and get out of the way. I'll go ahead and do 50 to mine and 50 to Julie's Paul Harris. So we got it out of the way when Bob gets into this.
Well, and just one more thing, and I'll be quiet, but what Levi talked about liking to give back through his company, and he really, really does that. I mean, walks the walk on that. I actually got an email, I think it was 2 weeks ago, where I don't know if it was you directly or your company had reached out to someone in Portland at one of our regional managers, because you're asking for people that were in need of help, and we could send people to you that needed help with cleaning or anything. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah. So what that is, we were looking for some of the branches. Yeah, we do that with some of our other customers, stuff that they reach out, those who maybe need help getting a COVID clean or something that they maybe can't afford right now. And we go in and donate that so they can get their buildings wiped and fogged out and ready to open. So and we just have the branch managers. They're kind of plugged into what people are doing so they can let us know.
All right. Anybody else? Oh, sorry, Ursula. Go ahead.
Sorry, Frank. I was going to say, I will just add to that. I don't know. I sort of stepped out of it last year, so I don't know if anybody actually took advantage of it, but they clean some of our buildings as well. And last year, I believe it was, they offered to provide carpet cleaning for new parents. So through our OB department, if there were people who couldn't afford to have their carpet cleaned, they're going to have a new baby, so they're going to crawl around on the floor. And so I know our social worker was working to see if anybody could take advantage of that. Don't know if it ever worked out, but it was a very generous offer.
Yeah, we get a lot of those. We don't put anything on our social media or webpage showing that. We usually just reach out to departments, churches, branches, and all those places and let them, decide and screen kind of who really needs the help.
Yeah, I think it's really awesome that your company gives back the way you do. Kudos for that. And the drill. We're going to vaccinate 50 kids against polio in your name. So thanks for presenting today to us, Levi. That was great.
Thanks for having me.
All right. I'll turn things over to Jim Graham for attendance.
It's another good meeting, and it was a really good program. So a lot of people are lucky to be here today. Organically, we had 30 of 56, so over 50%, 53.6%. And after applying makeups, we have 39 of 58, and that's a 67.2%, over 2/3 attendance. And Signy is the lucky winner of the $15 member incentive this week. Thank you for that information, Mark. And finally, I didn't stick my head in with the Happy Bucks, but I want to put $100 to Sonia's Paul Harris, because I have my wife back. She's done going to Corvallis 4 days a week for the last 6 weeks, and I'm so happy that she's back home full time now. So that's all for me, Freddie. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Jim. Let's see, John, do we have a social media award today?
Let me unmute myself. Yeah, this week's winner is she seems like she wins all the time. It's Raina Matson, and she's not here today.
All right. Oops, I think I skipped the 50-50.
Yep. Okay, so we are going to do the 50-50 and hopefully y'all can see the wheel.
I can't read him. Oh.
John Clark.
John Clark.
All right. Congrats, John.
20.
Give it back to the club, please.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you, Sonia. So next week we have another great program. It is our January Students of the Month, and Marcus and Melanie will be back to talk to us. So hope to see everyone back for that one. Julie, would you mind taking us out with the 5-way test?
Sure, had to get unmuted there. So the 5-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Number 1, is it the truth? 2, is it fair to all concerned? 3, will it build goodwill and better friendships? 4, will it be beneficial to all concerned? And 5, is it fun? Yay!
All right. Thanks, Julie, and
Thank
good to see
you.
everybody. Hope to see y'all next week. Have a good weekend.